Good evening, traveler. Before we begin our peaceful journey through the winding paths of the Middle Ages, take a moment to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and let us know in the comments where you're watching from and what time it is there. I love discovering where each of our listeners comes from across the world. Now turn off the lights, adjust your pillow, and allow yourself to relax as we together traverse the echoes of a forgotten age. Chapter 1. Why being a medieval barber-surgeon was an invitation to disaster. You're lying down, ready to fall asleep, and tonight our story invites you to don the stained apron of a barber-surgeon from the Middle Ages. Take a deep breath, close your eyes, and imagine yourself in a narrow workshop with crooked walls and an unmistakable smell of cheap vinegar mixed with sweat and something you'd rather not identify. Being a medieval barber-surgeon was, at the very least, a daily exercise in improvisation and survival. You wake to the sound of a restless pig in the alley and a customer already knocking at your door. The morning light filters through a grease-smeared window, revealing your instruments, pliers, blunt knives, and a jar of leeches that seem to be staring back at you. Your shop doesn't really distinguish between cutting hair and amputating a finger. It all depends on price and courage. The clients come with hope and you offer questionable solutions. A toothache, pliers, a broken arm. Let's try to set it with the help of your apprentice, a boy who trembles more than the patient himself. Haircuts are the easy part of the job. As for surgeries, well, let's just say your best tool is a bucket to collect what's left. And as you work, the sound of the market seeps into the workshop, the fishmonger's calls, the clink of coins, and the muffled sobs of those who dared to sit in your crooked wooden chair. The climax of your day. Trying to pull a molar with more force than finesse, while the client clutches the chair and quietly prays to every saint they can remember. Anesthesia, a sip of weak ale, and a piece of leather to bite on. With a less than reassuring crack, the tooth comes out, or part of it. You smile, or at least try to, and wipe the sweat from your brow with an arm already stained with blood. And so, with calloused hands and ears full of complaints, you survive another day. The sun sets outside, and the street cools. You extinguish the lamp, lean back in the corner of the workshop, and for a moment you feel the silence. And it's in that silence, dear listener, that you can finally close your eyes and sleep peacefully, free, at least for now, from the sound of cracking teeth and creaking pliers. Chapter 2. The nightmare of working in ancient Rome's sewers. Good evening, traveler. Now take another deep breath. Let your body relax as we move to a new setting, the bustling, hot, and humid streets of ancient Rome. It's here that today you perform a job. Let's say, underappreciated, but absolutely essential, that of a sewer worker. You wake to the voices of merchants already in full swing, roosters stubbornly crowing, and the constant noise of the city, hurried footsteps, cartwheels, the distant call of a centurion. The smell. You barely notice it anymore. You've long grown accustomed to the mix of smoke, old fish, and what runs through the city's open channels. Your work begins before the sun is high in the sky. With a long pole, a leather bucket, and a tunic that has seen better days, you lean over the sewers, trying to clear the debris starting to form unwanted dams. Food scraps, rags, bones, and other things. The heat makes the air even heavier. The stones under your feet are slippery, polished by traffic and the constant dampness of streets that serve both as roads and as drainage. You continue, moving through shadows cast by the tall buildings, hearing the murmurs of those who avert their eyes as they pass. Some spit to the side. Others offer a sip of weak wine, perhaps out of pity more than generosity. Your pole catches on something sturdier than expected. With effort you pull, and what emerges is not something worth describing before bed. Just know that the stench makes even the rats hesitate. The climax of the day? A sudden rain that turns the already treacherous ground into a quagmire, and the sewers flow into a current that threatens to sweep away more than just debris. You grab onto whatever you can, slip, take a deep breath, and manage to stay upright. Another day survived, and when the storm passes, the air feels a little fresher. You wipe your face with your sleeve and, for a brief moment, watch the sunset tinting the murky waters gold. Now in the quiet of the night you can lie down, imagining the distant sound of the Tiber and hoping for a tomorrow with fewer storms. Close your eyes and rest. After all, even invisible heroes deserve to dream in peace. Chapter 3. What it was like to be a night watchman in a medieval city. Good evening, traveler. Now breathe slowly and allow yourself to sink into the silence of a medieval night. Tonight, you are on the walls of a stone city, the heavy cloak of night wrapping everything and the even heavier weight of responsibility on your shoulders. You are the night watchman. The wind blows cold, carrying the smell of burnt wood, banquet leftovers, and the subtle yet constant scent of the stables. Torches flicker along the wall, casting dancing shadows that sometimes frighten more than they reassure. You grip a spear, the rough wood already shaped by your calloused hands. Your steps echo on the stone, a slow, steady rhythm, the sound of a man who watches more than he walks. The houses below, packed within the protection of the walls, are asleep. Here and there, a window lets out a timid beam of light where someone counts their last coins or empties a mug of ale before bed. And you, up high, observe it all. The dark field beyond the walls, the trees swaying like ghosts under the moonlight, and the dirt road that disappears on the horizon. Being a night watchman is waiting for what rarely happens and fearing what could happen at any moment. A stranger trying to scale the walls, a fire starting in a barn, or just the howl of a wolf echoing through the valley and making your heart beat a little faster. But most of the time, it's the sound of your own thoughts you hear the most. The climax of the night comes with the sound of a branch snapping beyond the gate. You stop, breathe, adjust your grip on the spear. The silence deepens. It's just a deer sneaking through the woods, fleeing from something only it knows. You relax your shoulders and walk on, the sound of your boots echoing again in the chill of the dawn. Far off, the first crow of a rooster announces that the night gives way to the day. You sigh with relief. Another shift completed. Now, dear listener, it's your turn to close your eyes, let your body rest, and let the walls of imagination protect you until morning. Sleep in peace. Chapter 4. What really happened at a medieval market on Fair Day. Good evening, traveler. Take a deep breath once more and let yourself be carried to the beating heart of a medieval village on Fair Day. The sun has barely risen, and the air already vibrates with sounds, smells, and promises of confusion and bargaining. You walk through narrow streets, your feet stepping on hard-packed earth and, here and there, on something you'd rather not identify. The market is a mosaic of colors and voices. The stalls line up crookedly, covered by worn tarps or simple pieces of faded fabric. The vendors shout their offers with an enthusiasm that borders on desperation. 3 onions for a penny! Fresh fish from the river, or almost. There's the smell of freshly baked bread, mixed with the less inviting aroma of the stable next door, and the constant sound of coins clinking, or being quickly hidden when a tax collector passes by. You dodge a stubborn goat trying to sample the apples at an old man's stall. A group of children runs between the legs of the adults, laughing as they try to steal a fig or a honey sweet. The blacksmith displays knives and horseshoes, and the cloth merchant unrolls a piece of wool as carefully as if it were gold. Amid all this, the noise of pigs in a makeshift pen and the cry of a wine cellar complete the fair's chorus. The climax of the day? A small commotion when a stranger tries to pay with a foreign coin. The vendor refuses, the stranger insists, and soon a small crowd gathers, giving opinions, laughing, hoping for a fight that never comes. The noise swells until the oldest boatman, known for his thunderous voice, steps in with a joke, and the tension melts into laughter. And so the day drags on between trades, laughter, and small misunderstandings. The sun begins to set, dust rises from the ground, and the market slowly empties. The merchants start dismantling their stalls, the last coins change hands, and the villagers' sounds return to footsteps on gravel and doors closing. Now, traveller, close your eyes too. Let the echo of the fair fade away and allow rest to come, like the night falling over the colourful tents. Chapter 5. The art of surviving a siege in a medieval castle. Good evening, traveller. Close your eyes, breathe slowly, and picture yourself inside the thick stone walls of a medieval castle, surrounded by hills that now hide invisible enemies. The wind blows cold, bringing the smell of smoke in the distance and the muffled sound of war drums. You are one of many inside, counting the days, the grains of wheat, and sometimes your very thoughts. The first days of the siege bring more tension than hunger. The gates close, the drawbridges rise, and the castle becomes both prison and protection. People crowd the inner courtyards, peasants, nobles, soldiers, and their horses. The smell, a mix of hay, sweat, and the fear no one dares confess. The hours drag on, marked by the tolling of bells and the occasional shout from the sentries. The narrow windows of the towers are your only glimpse of the world beyond, and all you see are trampled fields, the enemy's campfires, and sometimes a banner flapping in the wind. The water from the inner well is rationed. The bread darkens as the days pass. The salted meat begins to taste more of salt than meat. The climax of the siege comes with the silence. Yes, the silence. After days of noise, arrows, stones, cries, comes a stillness that brings no comfort. It's the sign of something greater, perhaps an attack, perhaps just the enemy testing the nerves of those within the walls. You sit near the extinguished fire to save wood and try not to hear the sound of your own stomach. And yet there are small moments of hope. A child laughing while chasing a rat, an old man telling stories to distract the young, or simply the sun rising once again over the battlements. And now, traveller, while the gates remain locked and the night envelops the castle, it's your turn to rest. May your dreams be free, even in times of siege. Chapter 6. Why being a medieval baker could cost you your life. Good evening, traveller. Take a deep breath and let the imaginary warmth of the stone oven surround you as we journey together through another story slumbering in time. Tonight, you are a medieval baker, master of an essential craft, and surprisingly, a dangerous one. The day begins before the sun rises. The oven still holds the heat of the last batch, and you, with hands already dusted in flour, knead the dough with movements your body learned before your mind even awoke. The air inside the bakery is heavy, the smell of yeast, smoke, burnt wood, and always that faint bitterness of fear. Because a single mistake could be more than a burnt loaf. It could be a sentence. The oven that bakes the bread also stokes danger. The heat is intense, the embers always threatening a rebellious spark. One misstep and the flames escape, running through the straw piled nearby or the dry beams. The entire village fears the moment the baker loses control of the fire. And you know, if that happens, the blame will be yours, and the punishment swift and harsh. But the risk isn't only in the fire. The price of bread is watched with eyes as sharp as blades. A loaf smaller than it should be, a price higher than what's fair, and the neighbors murmur. A murmur becomes a complaint, the complaint becomes a trial, and soon you're standing before the lord of the village explaining why yesterday's bread seemed lighter than the day before's. The climax of your day, the moment of delivering the bread to the square. You carry the basket of steaming loaves, Feel the women's eyes measuring the size of the rolls, the men counting their coins, and the old folks ready to point out a flaw that may not even exist. You smile humbly, offer the bread, and give thanks for another day when the oven baked but didn't devour. Now, traveler, as the oven cools and the village sleeps beneath a star-sprinkled sky, let weariness turn to peace. Close your eyes, breathe slowly and sleep soundly. At least tonight the bread was baked and the fire stayed where it should. Chapter 7. What happened when you were accused of witchcraft in the Middle Ages? Good evening, traveler. Now breathe slowly, let your thoughts settle, and come with me to a time when the greatest danger could be born from fear and from the suspicious gaze of a neighbor. Tonight, you walk in the worn sandals of someone accused of witchcraft in the Middle Ages. It all begins with a whisper. Maybe it was the way you looked at the storm before it arrived. Maybe the bad harvest that year needed a culprit. Or maybe the black cat that followed you was just too much of a companion to seem normal. The glances began to cross. The murmurs multiplied faster than the grains in the mill. And then someone said out loud, "Witch." You're taken to the center of the village, among familiar faces that now look away, or worse, stare at you with a mixture of fear and relief that it isn't them in your place. The judge, or the priest, or both, asks questions that have no right answers. Your herb for pain, a spell, the charm hanging on your door, a pact, the strange dream you told a friend, a confession, the climax of your nightmare, the trial by ordeal where logic gives way to fire or water. Your hands are plunged into boiling water to prove your purity. If they heal without infection, you're innocent. But the damage will already be done, or you're bound and thrown into the lake. If you sink, you were pure. If you float, you were a witch. In both cases, fate seems equally merciless. But as the crowd watches and night falls over the village, a cold wind sweeps the square. Perhaps it's just the wind. Perhaps it's the echo of injustices whispering through the centuries. And it's in that moment that you, dream traveler, can close your eyes and be free. Because here, in the shelter of night and rest, no judgment reaches you, and you can, at least tonight, sleep in peace. Chapter 8. The drama of being an alchemist's apprentice in the Middle Ages. Good evening, traveler. Take a deep breath and let the imaginary aroma of sulfur and burnt candles fill the scene as you find yourself inside a small medieval laboratory with a low ceiling and walls blackened by soot. Tonight, you are an alchemist's apprentice, a title that sounds noble, but in practice means lots of patience, few results, and more burns than glory. The place where you spend your days and nights is organized chaos. Stained glass flasks, cracked clay vessels, and copper tubes bent from failed attempts to turn lead into gold. The air is dense, almost solid, from so many evaporated experiments and dissolved secrets. Your master, a man with a distant gaze and permanently stained fingers, who speaks more to himself than to you, and whose instructions sound like riddles. Your routine begins before the first light of day. The firewood must be stacked, the furnaces lit, the ingredients prepared, sulfur powder, dried roots, crushed stones. Your job? Do everything the master won't. Pump the bellows, stir steaming solutions, and from time to time clean up the smaller explosions before anyone notices. The climax of your day comes when the master announces, "Today, the elixir of immortality," and you hold the glass flask while he pours liquids that boil and bubble as if they had a life of their own. A spark, a pop, a cloud of purple smoke. And once again, nothing but a strange smell and the certainty that that elixir won't see the sunrise. The day ends with you scrubbing your hands in cold water from the fountain, trying to remove the stains from your skin and the metallic taste from your mouth. But still, there's a certain magic, the sound of bubbles in the flasks. The glow of the fire beneath the crucible, the distant promise that maybe, just maybe, tomorrow the gold will be real. Now, traveler, as the candles in the lab go out and the world outside falls silent, let your mind rest. May your dreams be the place where formulas finally work and the philosopher's stone shines in your hands. Good night. Chapter 9. Why traveling in the Middle Ages was almost an extreme sport. Good evening, traveler. Close your eyes and let the sound of horses' hooves, the creak of carts, and the whisper of the wind along lonely roads carry you into a journey of olden times. Tonight, you are a medieval traveler, someone who dared to leave the safety of their village to face the uncertainties of the road. The path before you is hard-packed earth, full of holes, crossed by roots and puddles that reflect the grey of the sky. There are no signs. Maps are rare, and if you have one, it's probably more decoration than useful. The trail stretches ahead, flanked by tall grass and woods that hide more than they reveal. Every sound among the trees, the snap of a branch, the hoot of an owl, makes your heart beat just a little faster. Traveling in the Middle Ages is no leisure trip. It's a test of luck, endurance, and often patience. The inns are few and often as dangerous as the road. Thieves lurk at the crossroads. The rain turns the path into a sea of mud that clings to feet, wheels, and spirit alike. The sun, when it deigns to appear, burns the skin like a punishment, and the nights bring cold and the distant howls of wolves. The climax of the journey, a river, no bridge. You watch the current carrying away branches, leaves, and the courage of many. There's no other choice. You hold your breath, lift the hem of your tunic, and begin to cross, feeling the icy water rise to your waist and the uneven bottom, betraying every step. And when you finally reach the other side, your bones ache, but there's a small pride in your chest, another obstacle overcome. Now, dream traveler, as the stars light up over this ancient road, let your own crossing end in peace. May rest come gently, and may the dangers of the path dissolve into the silence of the night. Sleep well. Chapter 10. How the kitchens of a great medieval castle worked. Good evening, traveler. Take a deep breath and imagine the heat of a large underground hall, the constant crackling of flames, and the irresistible, and sometimes questionable, aroma of the meals that fed nobles, knights, and an entire court. Tonight, you walk through the kitchens of a medieval castle. The kitchen is a world of its own, hidden beneath the cold stones of the castle. The walls are blackened with soot, the floor marked by the hurried footprints of helpers rushing back and forth, carrying cauldrons, boards with boar carcasses, and stacks of bread harder than a knight's shield. The air is thick, saturated with the steam of soups, the scent of roasting meat, and the subtle, yet ever-present, touch of crushed garlic. You watch the cooks at work. The kitchen master shouts orders with the hoarse voice of someone who has swallowed more smoke than wine in his life. Children run with buckets of water, apprentices try to keep the fire alive, and dogs, always lurking, wait for the providential fall of a bone or a piece of fat. The chaos has rhythm, like a dance choreographed by disorder. The climax of the day comes when the main hall's bell rings, the feast begins, and with it, the rush. The platters are lined up on long wooden tables, meat pies with golden crusts, stews boiling in clay pots, whole chickens decorated with sprigs of herbs, and for the boldest diners, a roasted swan, still with feathers on its neck for dramatic effect. The dishes follow in line toward the great hall, carried by trembling arms and watchful eyes, because one slip could cost more than just dinner. It could cost your job. But when the feast is underway, and the sounds of laughter, toasts, and clattering plates echo all the way to the kitchen, you, traveler, can finally leave the heat of the stove behind. The fire slowly dies down, and the peace of night settles even over the most tired helpers. It's time to close your eyes, leave the cauldrons and knives for tomorrow, and rest. May your dreams be as plentiful as the grandest of feasts. Chapter 11. The not-so-romantic side of being an itinerant troubadour. Good evening, traveler. Let the sound of an imaginary lyre soothe your thoughts as you wear for tonight the worn boots and patched cloak of a medieval itinerant troubadour. A man, or woman though rarely, who carries songs and verses from village to village, with more dust on the road than glory at the destination. You wake under the open sky, dew dampening the old instrument by your side. The crowing of roosters mingles with the crackling of the shepherds' campfires as they rekindle them. Your voice still carries the weariness of the night before, when you tried, without much success, to charm a noisy tavern full of peasants, more interested in their ale than in your rhymes. Being a troubadour means bearing the weight of your own name in every refrain, knowing that your pay will come at best as a piece of hard bread or a corner of straw on the stable floor. The road is your home, the sky your tent, and the wind your most faithful companion. The climax of your day comes when, after hours of walking under the sun or rain, you catch sight of the walls of a new village. Hope flickers in your chest. Perhaps there they'll listen to your songs. Perhaps someone will pay for a dedicated verse or offer shelter for the night. You tune your instrument with fingers calloused more by the cold than by the strings and step into the square, where curious eyes weigh you before the first note is played. Amid laughter, coins tossed, more in mockery than in payment, and the occasional sincere applause, you move on. The road calls again, and with it, the sound of your own footsteps and the lyre that stubbornly still sings. Now, traveler, close your eyes. Let the sound of the instrument fade into the wind, and let your weariness turn into light sleep, lulled by verses only dreams can hear. Chapter 12. The daily life of a cathedral builder in the Middle Ages. Good evening, traveler. Breathe slowly and let the imaginary echo of hammers on stone and the creak of wooden scaffolding lull you to rest. Tonight, you walk under the weight of dust and hopes. You are a cathedral builder, one of the anonymous hands that raise the greatest promises of faith of the Middle Ages. The day begins before the sun bathes the unfinished high towers. The morning chill is biting, but soon lost in the heat of your own labor. The ground of the worksite is covered in stone chips, planks, ropes, and the marks of tired feet. The air smells of lime, cut wood, and sweat. You carry heavy tools, climb and descend ladders that groan under the weight of each load, while the master builder shouts orders that are swallowed by the constant noise of hammers. Working there means risking both body and soul. A slip, a broken wooden beam, and the ground feels closer than it should. You learn to respect the wind that blows strong on the high scaffolding, to tie knots tighter, to trust your companions who hold the counterweights as the stone is hoisted. The climax of the day? The moment when a new stone is set at the top of a window's arch or at the base of a tower. The master watches, silence falls for a brief instant, and you hold your breath. And when the stone fits, when the weight distributes and the arch holds firm, a small pride is born, hidden beneath the dust on your face. The cathedral, like faith, grows slowly, with patience and sacrifice. Now, traveler, as the sun sets behind the unfinished stained glass and the worksite sleeps beneath the starry sky, close your eyes too. Let your dreams complete the cathedral your hands help to raise. Sleep well. Chapter 13. What it was like to tend a medicinal herb garden in a medieval monastery. Good evening, traveler. Take a deep breath and let the gentle scent of mint, lavender, and rosemary fill your thoughts. Tonight, you find yourself among neat garden beds within the quiet walls of a medieval monastery as the monk or nun in charge of the medicinal herb garden. An oasis of calm in a world of uncertainties. The day begins with the sound of the bells for the first prayer. The sun is still stretching through the clouds when you're already on your knees in the damp earth, your hands touching the leaves with the respect of one who knows. Here grow the remedies the village and the monastery will need. The garden is simple, but ordered like the pages of a manuscript, chamomile beside rue, elder near sage, and in the shade of the wall, valerian, shy in its growth. You work in silence, with only birdsong and the discreet hum of bees for company. Each plant is tended with patience, a little water drawn from the well at dawn, the careful removal of dry leaves, the whisper of a prayer as your fingers crush a sprig to test its fragrance. The climax of your day comes when a sick brother or a worried villager arrives, and you choose the right herbs, mix, crush, prepare an ointment or a tea. Hope mingles with the steam rising from the infusion, and you watch in silence, hoping the remedy brings the longed-for relief. And now, traveler, as the sun hides and the garden rests beneath the dark cloak of night, you too may lie down. Close your eyes, hear the distant echo of the Compline bell, and sleep to the sound of the soft wind among the herbs. May your dreams be as peaceful as this garden. Chapter 14. The horrors and smells of ancient Rome's public latrines. Good evening, traveler. Take a deep breath, though perhaps only in your imagination this time. Because tonight you walk through the bustling alleys of ancient Rome to reach a place essential but little celebrated, the public latrines, true bastions of coexistence and patience. You approach the simple stone building, doorless, with a line of citizens trying to look indifferent to what awaits inside. The heat of the day warms the marble of the hold benches, lined up side by side, without dividers, without curtains, without any illusion of privacy. The air is heavy, humid, a mix of smoke from nearby fires, the smell of fish from the market, and of course the unmistakable scent of shared human needs. You sit, if comfortably can be said, and do what you must, trying not to look at your neighbor, trying not to breathe too deeply. The sound is an unflattering symphony. Coughs, talk of wheat prices, sighs of resignation. Within reach, the tersorium, the famous communal sponge on a stick resting in a bucket of vinegared water. You hesitate, of course, who wouldn't? But it's what there is, and Rome does not forgive the fragile. The climax of the experience, the moment someone tries to start a conversation as if this were the forum. You respond with a nod, perhaps a murmur, and focus all your strength on finishing quickly, washing your hands, or at least pretending you did, and stepping back into the sun, where the air seems for the first time fresher than ever. Now, traveler, as the sounds of Rome's streets fade and night covers the ancient stones of the eternal city, close your eyes. Let the discomfort and smells stay in the past, and allow rest to come gently, like a breeze from the Tiber. Sleep in peace. Chapter 15. Why being a courier in ancient Egypt could be deadly. Good evening, traveler. Take a deep breath and feel the dry heat of a relentless sun as you see yourself walking along the dusty banks of the Nile, wearing a light tunic and carrying in your hands what many desire but few would dare to transport. Messages from the pharaoh, the temple, or some anxious noble. Tonight, you are the courier of ancient Egypt. The day begins before the sun gilds the sands. Your task, to cross kilometers under a cloudless sky where not even the gods seem to offer shade. In your arms, rolled papyri, sealed with clay and marked with the symbols of those who do not forgive delays. The path? A narrow trail flanked by rare palm trees where the wind lifts the sand and throws it against your face like invisible needles. You walk alert, because the threats are not just the heat burning your shoulders or the ground that wounds your feet. There are thieves on the road, bandits who know the value of a message and of the messenger. There are crocodiles lurking where the path skirts the river, and there is exhaustion itself, hiding traps in every stumbling step. The climax of your day, a desolate stretch where the desert stones become a natural maze. You hear a sound, perhaps the wind, perhaps a raider, Your heart races, your eyes scan the horizon for shelter, but all there is are sand, stone, and the certainty that only the swift and discreet will reach their destination. When the papyrus is finally delivered, your legs tremble, your dry mouth begs for a sip of warm water from the skin flask, and your chest fills with a quiet pride. Another journey completed, another day alive. Now, traveler, close your eyes too. Let the desert fade, let the Nile fall silent, and may your dreams follow safely, free from sun and treacherous sands. Sleep well. Chapter 16. What training was like for a young squire before becoming a knight. Good evening, traveler. Breathe slowly, and let the imaginary sound of clashing swords and neighing horses carry you to a great hall of cold stone or the training yard of a castle. Tonight, you wear the simple garb and eager gaze of a young squire, learning drop by drop of sweat the path to knighthood. The day begins before sunrise. The air still holds the night's chill as you wake in the corner of a shared room alongside other apprentices. The scent of straw, leather, and metal accompanies your every move. Your tasks begin without glory, polishing heavy armor, sharpening swords already marked by past battles, brushing the horses that will soon carry lords to hunts or tournaments. When training begins, the world narrows to the weight of the shield in your arms and the impact of wood striking wood. The masters at arms have no patience for gentleness. Their shouts echo through the yard as you struggle to keep your balance, dodge, advance. The squire first learns how to fall, then how to rise, and only much later how to truly fight. The climax of your day, the training session with the warhorse. The animal, imposing and restless, senses the hesitation in your hands. You mount the saddle, and the world seems taller, more dangerous, more real. The master commands, ride forward, turn, strike the target. Your heart pounds, your hands sweat beneath worn gloves, but you stay firm. For a moment, you almost feel like a knight. And as the sun sets and the shadows lengthen across the yard, you gather the weapons, feed the horse, and wipe the sweat from your brow with your sleeve. The castle sounds quiet, and the time for rest arrives. Now, traveler, lie down as well. May your dreams find your shield light, your horse loyal, and your sword shining only in the light of victory. Good night. Chapter 17. The daily life of a fisherman in a medieval village. Good evening, traveler. Breathe slowly and imagine the gentle sound of small waves against the shore, the salty scent of the sea or great lake, and the creak of an aged wooden boat. Tonight, you are a medieval fisherman, living a simple life, shaped by the moods of water and wind. The day begins before the sky lightens. The air still holds the chill of the night as you walk to the dock, your bare feet feeling the damp earth and the wet wood of the pier. The boat rocks softly, the nets coiled like sleeping serpents wait to play their part. The smell of fish, seaweed and salt clings to everything, your hands, your clothes, your hair. The crossing is silent, save for the sound of oars cutting through water and the waves lapping at the hull. You watch the horizon for signs, the leap of a fish, the low flight of birds, the sudden gleam of a school below the surface. You cast the net with the care of one who knows dinner depends on what it brings back. The climax of the day? The moment when the net catches on something heavy, the boat tilts slightly. You pull, feel the resistance, your heart quickens. Will it be fish, a submerged log, or the remains of some long-lost ship? With effort, with arms already tired, the net rises, bringing the reward of your hope, silver fish glinting in the rising sun. Returning to the village, the boat feels lighter, though your body feels heavier. The nets are hung to dry, the fish cleaned and prepared. The day ends with the crackle of the fire, the scent of fish on the coals, and the good fatigue of one who has faced the waters and won, at least for today. Now, traveler, close your eyes. Let the sound of the waves cradle your sleep, and may your dreams sail calm and generous seas. Good night. Chapter 18. What it was like to work in a medieval mine. Good evening, traveler. Breathe slowly and let the imagined sound of pickaxes echoing deep underground envelop you as you find yourself before the dark mouth of a medieval mine. Tonight, you are a miner, one of those who wrest the hidden treasures from the earth's depths with sweat and risk. The day begins before the sun rises. The morning breeze still carries a light chill, but you know you'll soon leave it behind in the stifling, damp air inside the mine. With the lamp lit, you enter the narrow tunnel, the wet stone walls reflecting the flickering flame. The smell is of wet earth, of timber holding up the fragile ceilings, of dust settling in the air and in the lungs. The work is heavy, repetitive, and each crack in the rock makes your heart pound. The tools are simple: pickaxe, shovel, a cart for hauling ore. Hands are wounded, shoulders ache, and the thin air makes every breath feel heavy. And there is always the silent fear of a collapse, of poisonous gas, of sudden flooding. The climax of the day comes when a strong strike breaks the rock and reveals the hidden gleam of metal, silver, iron, or if the gods smile, a golden vein that makes the effort worthwhile. There is a brief moment of silence, a glance shared with the others, and then the work resumes, harder, faster. When at last you emerge, the sky is painted with the colors of dusk. The natural light seems almost strange after so long in the dark. Your body aches, your clothes are coated in dust, but your soul feels the relief of having survived another day beneath the earth. Now, traveler, it is time to lie down. Leave the mine behind, breathe the fresh night air, and let sleep be light and restoring. May the rock yield easily in your dreams, and the gold be generous. Good night. Chapter 19. Why being a medieval shoemaker wasn't for the faint of heart. Good evening, traveler. Take a deep breath and imagine the scent of tanned leather, melted beeswax, and aged wood as you step into the shoes of a medieval shoemaker. Today, your hands are the ones shaping what protects the steps of nobles and peasants alike, and that also carry the weight of the trade's many pains. The day begins with the pale morning light sneaking through the small, dusty window of the workshop. The floor is covered with leather scraps and pieces of sole that speak of lost battles with blunt knives. The tools are lined up on the bench: bent needles, thick waxed linen threads, wooden molds worn smooth by use. And there, among the shadows and the scent of oil, you sit and begin your work. Being a shoemaker is a struggle against the material. The leather is tough, stubborn, demanding strength in the fingers, precision in the cut, patience in the stitch. Your hands ache, your eyes burn in the dim light, and the constant tap of the hammer on tiny nails echoes like the rhythm of a day that seems endless. Each pair of shoes is a promise of protection, comfort, status, and each mistake a risk of going unpaid, or worse, of being blamed for a cranky lord's blister. The climax of the day, the arrival of a hurried customer, a knight demanding new boots before dawn. The leather must be cut, stitched, shaped, all in a time that defies both body and reason. Your fingers bleed from the needle pricks, the thread tangles, the hammer slips. But when the final stitch is made and the knight silently approves as he puts on the boots, a brief pride warms your chest. Now, traveler, as the workshop falls quiet and the scent of fresh leather lingers in the air, close your eyes too. May your dreams tread soft trails, free of stones and thorns, with perfect shoes that never wear out. Good night. Chapter 20. The terror of facing a trial by ordeal. Good evening, traveler. Breathe slowly and let the imagined sound of church bells and the murmur of a curious crowd carry you to a square surrounded by anxious faces. Tonight you find yourself facing a trial by ordeal, a test where fate seems to lean more toward the whim of chance than justice. The day begins under a heavy sky, the air thick as if the world itself is holding its breath. You stand in the center of the square, your bare feet on cold, damp earth, your hands trembling despite the effort to appear steady. The village's gazes are fixed on you, some with pity, others with fear, many with that strange relief of those thankful not to be in your place. The chosen ordeal, glowing coals or boiling water. The clergy chant prayers, the judges look on with severity, and the instrument of proof approaches. The heat of the coals seems to burn before you even touch them. The water bubbles as if mocking your courage. There is no escape. You plunge your hand, step onto the embers, fulfill the ritual meant to prove your purity or seal your fate. The climax of the moment is the silence that follows the act. The air seems frozen, the murmurs cease, and all eyes are on you, at the marked skin, the reddened fingers, the blisters beginning to form. Now there's nothing left but to wait. If the wound heals quickly and cleanly, you are innocent. If it festers, well, everyone knows what that means, but as the pain throbs and the world seems to fade, there is a strange relief. The worst is over. And now, traveler, as the square empties and night covers the fields, you too may close your eyes. Let the trial remain in the past, and may sleep bring a gentler verdict. Sleep in peace. Chapter 21. The daily life of artists who painted church frescoes. Good evening, traveler. Breathe deeply and let the imagined scent of wet lime, ground pigments and burnt candles take you inside the silent interior of a medieval church, where tonight you take the place of a fresco painter. A craft that blends art, devotion, and a patience bordering on the superhuman. The day begins with the weak sunlight streaming through high, glassless windows. The dampness of the dawn still clings to the cold stone walls. You dip the thick brush into the bucket of freshly prepared lime, feeling the weight of a task that stretches not over hours, but over years. The fresco allows no mistakes. The design must be born on the wet wall, every stroke final, every color absorbed into the very structure of the temple. The routine is precise. Grind the minerals carefully, mix the powder with water and egg yolk. Apply the lime to the wall in small portions, always in amounts the hands and light can manage before it dries. The smell of lime burns the nose, the pigment dust clings to your skin, and your arms ache from painting at heights or awkward angles day after day. The climax of your day, the moment when the outlines of the saint or sacred scene finally emerge from the haze of color and dust. The figure takes shape, and for an instant the painted eyes seem to return your gaze. It's a brief moment, but it makes every wrist ache and every callus on your fingers worthwhile. And at the end of the day, when the brushes are washed and the paint stored away, you sit on the cold stone bench and contemplate what has been done. The church's silence seems deeper now, almost welcoming. And in that silence, traveler, you too may close your eyes. Let the painted walls of your dreams be perfect, without cracks, without haste. Sleep well. Chapter 22. What it was like to be a goosekeeper in a medieval village. Good evening, traveler. Take a deep breath and let yourself be carried to the green fields surrounding a medieval village, where the fresh morning air mingles with the unmistakable sound of flapping feathers and endless honking. Today, you are a goosekeeper, guardian of a flock that, despite its clumsy appearance, is a living treasure of the community. The day begins before the sun rises over the hills. Dew covers the grass, and the chill of dawn still kisses your fingers as you open the pen and watch the first geese stretch slowly, their eyes alert. The sound is a tuneless chorus that wakes half the village before the chapel bell ever rings. Your routine is a constant balance between guiding and watching. The geese are valuable. Their feathers for writing, their meat for food, their eggs for selling or trade. But they are also stubborn, noisy, and have a special talent for trouble. You walk the fields, staff in hand, dodging puddles, stones, and the attempts of the boldest to escape toward the river. The climax of the day, the moment a predator lurks nearby, perhaps a sly fox, perhaps a stray dog from the outskirts. The geese, who seem foolish to those who watch from afar, rise like sentinels, honking furiously and spreading their wings in challenge. And you, with a shout and staff raised, run to defend your flock, more out of duty than attachment, because in that small flock lies part of your life's sustenance. When the day ends and the geese return to the pen, tired and quieter, you sit on the edge of the enclosure, listening to the wind in the fields. And now, traveler, it is your turn to rest. May your dreams be as light as feathers on the breeze, and may the night bring only peace, no foxes, no frights. Good night. Chapter 23. The Dilemma of a Gatekeeper in a Walled Medieval City. Good evening, traveler. Breathe slowly and feel the imagined weight of the iron key in your hand, the cold of the stones beneath your feet, and the distant murmur of the sleeping city behind the walls. Tonight, you are the keeper of one of the main gates, responsible for guarding the boundary between the safe inside and the uncertain outside. The day, or rather the shift, begins at nightfall. The massive wooden gate closes with a dull thud, and for a few hours you are the only one between the walls and the world. The plain's wind blows strong, carrying the scent of damp fields, the manure of caravans that passed by, and the echo of some nocturnal animal. Your watch is silent, but the mind never rests. Is that shadow on the road a late traveler, or something worse? Being a gatekeeper is not just about opening and closing, it's about deciding. A stranger arrives in the middle of the night, knocking at the door, claiming to be lost. Do you open, send him away, wait for dawn? Each choice weighs heavy, because if the mistake is yours, the whole city may pay the price, and the eyes of the citizens will be on you come morning, with gratitude or blame. The climax of the night comes when the shadows seem to move beyond the torch you hold. A strange sound. Perhaps just the wind, perhaps footsteps. Your heart races. You grip the spear tighter and fix your gaze on the darkness beyond the gate, ready to decide in the blink of an eye. But the night passes, and the danger, if it was there, hides once again in the veil of dawn. Now, traveler, as the gate remains closed and the sky begins to lighten in the distance, you too may close your eyes. Let the walls of your dreams be unbreachable, and may sleep guard your inner city. Good night. Chapter 24. Why being a battlefield messenger was nearly a death sentence. Good evening, traveler. Breathe slowly and feel the heavy air of smoke, sweat and churned earth as you wear the simple cloak of a messenger amid the chaos of a medieval battlefield. Today, your mission is not to fight, but to run and survive. The day begins before the first spears cross. The sky is grey, as if the world itself hesitates to witness what's to come. You clutch the rolled parchment, sealed with wax, that must reach the commander beyond the hill. It seems a simple task, but the field ahead is a maze of cries, shattered banners, and fallen bodies. With each step, the ground gives way beneath your feet, soft with mud or hardened by dust and blood. You dodge galloping horses, broken shields, spears scattered like traps. The sounds are deafening. The clash of weapons, the clamor of swords, the cries of the wounded, the shouts of victory or despair. It's impossible to tell which. The climax of your journey? The instant an arrow buries itself in the ground, a hand's breadth from your path. Your heart races, your lungs burn, but you press on. Because to stop is to fail, and failure, well, on the battlefield, the consequences are immediate and final. When at last you deliver the message, with trembling hands and a body covered in dust and small scars you didn't even feel happen, there is a brief sigh of relief. And then, the commander's eyes are already searching for another messenger, another warning, another order. Because on the battlefield, the messenger never truly rests. But now, traveler, you may. Close your eyes, let the sound of weapons fade, and allow sleep to bring the peace the battlefield never does. Good night. Chapter 25. what life was like for a candlemaker in the Middle Ages. Good evening, traveler. Take a deep breath and imagine the scent of hot wax, burnt wick and smoke clinging to the ceiling of a small workshop. Tonight, you are a candlemaker, someone who turns fat and tallow into light for nobles, monks and peasants. The day begins with the sound of the rooster and the clink of buckets. The first task is to melt the tallow, gathered with effort, stored in pots that have known more than one summer. The smell? The smell is something the candlemaker learns to accept. Strong, heavy, persistent. A mix of old fat and smoke that clings to clothes, hair, even dreams. You prepare the wicks, twisting linen threads with fingers hardened by the morning's chill. The melted wax bubbles in cauldrons hanging over the fire, and the routine begins. Dip, let dry, dip again. Each candle grows in thin layers, like the work of the maker, patient, steady, almost invisible. The climax of the day? When the candles are ready and you line them up carefully, seeing in them the fruit of hours of heat, effort, and a smell that seems to never leave your skin. Each candle represents not just light, but coin, sustenance, and the right to return to the workshop the next day to begin the cycle anew. And now, traveler, as the candles cool and dusk turns to night, you too may rest. Close your eyes, feel the peace of the gentle flame, and may sleep come like soft light on a dark night. Good night. The rest of the time, travelers. Good evening, traveler. Now that your journey has come to an end, take a deep breath once more. Let the dust of ancient roads settle. Let the sounds of hammers, lances, songs, and bells slowly fade into the welcoming silence of the night. You have crossed walls, markets, fields, and workshops. You wore the heavy clothes of a guard, felt the heat of the baker's oven, tasted the chill of the mines, and bore the weight of the responsibilities of those who lived in centuries that now sleep in the memory of the world. In each story, a life. In each life, a struggle, a fear, a hope. But now, all is quiet. The candles go out in the windows of distant villages, the keys turn in the wooden doors, and even the geese retreat into their pens. The castle rests beneath the stars, the river runs serene beneath the old bridge, and the wind carries away the last echoes of steps and voices. It is time for your own rest. May your dreams take you along peaceful paths, through green fields without danger, through villages where only peace dwells. May your sleep be light, like the touch of a breeze on your face. And when morning comes, may it bring the certainty that you have traveled well and found, for this night, safe refuge in time. Sleep in peace, traveler, until the next journey.